Brutal Barracuda, a Sniper Elite channel.
Hello, everybody. Let me just get set up. Cool. Hey, both.
Hey, how you doing?
All good. All good. Are you there, Lawrence? All okay?
I'm hoping you can hear me.
Yeah,
We can.
Great.
we can hear you. Okay, cool. I'll give it a few moments as people are still joining. But I'll start by saying a massive welcome. Whether you're new to the server or you're existing members and have been part of the Rebellion Discord server for a long time, hello, thanks for coming. We're here today to chat all things weapons in Sniper Elite 5, which, just in case you've been living under a rock, launches in 50 days. I checked before we joined. It's 50 days. Yeah, not long. Very exciting.
That sounds better than when we talk about it in weeks. 50 is good. 50 days.
I know. Yeah, I always think that. So my name's Karis, aka Firefly CJ. I'm part of the community team. You've probably seen me lurking around the server many a times. But I'm here with lead designer Ryan Baker and senior designer Lawrence Barnett. Am I pronouncing your second name right, Lawrence?
That's fine. Yeah, Barnett. It's all.
I feel like that's a polite way of saying no. But yeah, both of these guys are here to chat all things weapons, and we're going to share some lovely insights with everyone ahead of launch, because we know, let's be honest, we know how much you guys want answers to your questions. We know how excited you are for Sniper Elite 5. So yeah, we're super excited to share more. And just as an FYI, we are going to be keeping an eye on the Sniper Elite 5 questions channel. So keep chatting in there. There might be a few additional questions throughout this chat that we can answer on the fly. I'll try not to throw you in the deep end too much, Ryan and Lawrence, but we'll keep an eye on it. Cool. Shall we dive in?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Great.
There's probably a joke there, right? Let's get
most likely.
I don't know.
I hope you tell more jokes throughout this, Lawrence. You better.
Well, and they're better than that.
Yeah. And also, we were joking before, everyone who's listening, that this sounds a bit like a radio show, but I am so up for it, and we should definitely start some sort of rebellion radio show. Bagsy not hosting or presenting that. Cool. So you guys have been sending in questions over the last week, lots and lots of questions. There are some that we can answer, there are some that we can't, because there are too many spoilers in regard to upcoming DLC content, so we won't be covering those. Do with that information what you will. But we'll kick off the questions. The first question comes in on Discord. Boldface77 says, will Rebellion be toning down some of the overpowered fast reload rifles which appeared in SE4 in multiplayer to stop the spinners popping off rifle shots in open spaces, e.g. M1 Grand?
I think this has definitely been a question that's come up a lot, and something we really wanted to look at, but you've got the details on this, Lawrence. You know this much clearer than me, so yeah, explain away.
Yeah, so like the whole spinning, some of the running around, the chaotic AMP behavior that can be seen in SE4. Yeah, we wanted to sort of not necessarily put a stop to it. You're always going to be able to run around, but yeah, basically, if you set your rifle up to allow you to do that, let's say you pick a really lightweight weapon that can also reload fast per se, you'll suffer other consequences and other penalties. So usually, what that might mean is you have a really short weapon, like a short carbine rifle, but you're going to suffer with low muzzle velocity usually. So yeah, we've tried to address that. Enough of us got fairly annoyed when someone managed to pull off the sort of spinny snipe, like sort of quick scope sniping behavior that we've tried to put a stop to that.
You've worked really like into the minor details here as well, haven't you, Lawrence, with taking like sort of hundreds of milliseconds to do how long it takes to aim from certain positions of when you're moving and then swapping directions and stuff. There's all these tiny details that sound like they wouldn't do a lot, but they all add up to making it all feel so much better and making it much more difficult for people to exploit the sort of the system where they can.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's all good.
Loads of tiny things.
And we'll
Make
still look
your,
forward to getting feedback as well from when you finally get to try the game. See if there are other areas we can improve. Something we always want to do, and it's great hearing from everybody in the community about this sort of side of the game.
Yeah, and I guess Discord is one of the big places. I know Lawrence and Ryan, you both are part of the Discord actively. Before today's event, you were always here listening to players, and I mean, you won't be able to hide much now because they definitely know who you are and will probably bombard you. But yeah, I second that. Always looking for feedback that we can pass on to the devs and start that conversation from launch. Cool. Should we move on? Second question. So the same person, Boldface77, asks if shoulder aim option in or out in multiplayer.
So we've spent quite a bit of time sort of looking at the ballistics and how the bullets move from your gun to what you're aiming at. And basically, you can shoulder aim, and you can iron sight, and you can scope. But when you're shoulder aiming and you're in a multiplayer environment, we will the posh word is interpolate, but we'll basically take the bullet from the end of your gun and we will sort of come to meet what you're aiming at, and we'll do that over quite a bit of distance, which means you can't shoot from behind walls like you could in some instances in SE4 and not be seen. Essentially, we spend a bit of time trying to set that up so you can't shoot around corners, and we think that's great because you can still keep shoulder aiming turned on. I think some folks had server settings and such where they actually would sort of disable shoulder aiming, and I think that was sort of in response to this exploit that you could do. So yeah, you can do both. You can do both across all the game modes. We just have a few little extra options when you're in a multiplayer environment.
And it's worth knowing as well that we give you feedback, don't we, when your bullet is going to hit something else in front of you. So if it's not going to go directly where your crosshair is, if there's something in the way, we give you feedback to show you where the bullet is going to go. So if it's going to hit that wall that you're peeking around or something, we'll let you know that, so you won't have to fire a shot to realize too late that it's not actually going to go very far. And it's one of the big areas that we really wanted to improve, especially on the multiplayer side of things, but also across the game. And yeah, Lawrence has been working hard on lots of iterations on this to get it feeling as good as we can.
Love that. I love how every sentence at the moment is starting with Lawrence has worked spent much time.
He spent a lot of time on all.
I spent a lot of time, but lots of other people have spent way more time. Yeah, I'm sure Mark.
There's a lot of people we get great feedback
fist.
from, isn't there, as well, with this. And yeah, there's a lot of other people, working on this. A lot of people in different departments. A lot of people giving us loads of feedback. It's most definitely a big team effort.
Yeah, and you guys are always playing, right? Every week you're play testing between you. I'm hearing stories of some people being incredible and others going, stay away from them. If you ever play, stay away, which is really funny.
Yeah,
definitely get that. I think we've got the two ends of the spectrum here, probably, haven't we, Lawrence? You are very, very good at the game. I'm not so good. I'm there just for everyone to get their kill score up, really. I feel like that's my contribution.
I feel like
people a lot better than me, though.
Oh man, I feel like the worst people to play against in a multiplayer scenario is the people who made it. I feel like that has to be said. So I'll stay away. Cool. So moving on to the next question. Are grenades in or out? I love grenades. This is the same person again, Boldface77. I personally love grenades. Before I let you guys jump in, I think they are so fun and I love blowing people to bits. Is that really horrible to say?
That's fine. Especially when we still got
things you admit on the internet.
But yes, Grenades are in because we all love grenades. So they are in the game, and we still have the sticky grenade alternate use as well. So you can stick them to a enemy, whether that's a bad enemy German soldier or just another player, which is always good fun to see them with a grenade stuck to them and nothing they can really do about it. And in the campaign, we've got the shrapnel cams as well, so they explode, and you can see all that gory X-ray detail of grenades exploding nearby, which people were a big fan of in the previous game, and they are improved this time around as well. We've got lots of extra detail there. You would have seen in some of the trailers what our X-rays look like now, but they're great, and they managed to never get boring, which I don't know what that says about us, but probably nothing that good, but it's still yeah, really good fun. And we've got lots of other items as well, which are really good, especially judging from the other questions. I'm guessing Boldface77 likes a lot of multiplayer, and we have things across the game, but we have decoys, and that's one of the new items that's very interesting to use in multiplayer. Good fun. Can make for some yeah, really interesting situations and make you feel really good when you manage to make good use of one and take somebody out that's been troubling you. Great.
It
Or
feels like
really
you're saying
daft.
that from experience. You said that with such like a specific memory in your core.
It was like that one kill I got in the, in the game. It's a good one.
Brilliant. Great. Moving on, Nove, who is a big part of this community. I know they're always contributing to conversation in the server. They ask, will the Maz 44 be added in? Need more semi-autos?
We haven't actually got the Mass 44, although we did want to get a French semi-automatic rifle in. So you might have seen the RSC 1918 that's been sort of posted in a few images and shared around. So no, but we've got a kind of similar option available. Yeah, it's interesting, bit different, bit of a pig to control, but it is French.
It's hugely powerful, isn't it? That one. It's great. It's a really cool looking rifle as well. I think it's probably the best one because it's so beefy. And then some of the attachments you can put onto it make it look really quite different, which I think was in the release today, wasn't it? Was it images of this in
Yeah,
the
I think there
release you
was.
had, which showed you two very different versions of it.
Yeah.
And
One with
that's
a
one of
suppressor and a scope,
yeah,
right? And then the other without. I think
yeah.
you spoke a lot in that blog, Lawrence, about the variation in customization based on which play style you're going for, the run and gun or the more stealthy approach, depending on the mission.
And
Yeah,
that's it,
that.
isn't it? I think from
Yeah,
the stuff you can do, Lawrence, you could probably go into more detail about people being able to change all those different various parts of their weapons, and probably someone could get something close to like a Maz 44 if they really wanted to by changing all these customization points, even if it isn't inherently one of them. But yeah, do
yeah,
you want to go for,
exactly.
Lawrence, a few of the sort of customization options people have, and
Yeah,
run
I suppose if
through
we,
themselves?
I like using the RSC as an example, because it's this enormous rifle. It's really quite heavy and it shoots these quite large 8mm lapel bullets. But essentially, it's a great example because it's really, really heavy and its mobility, which is a stat that we have in the game, is kind of low as you'd expect, which means that the time to aim, how quickly you move around with it, other kind of mobility stats, they're all somewhat reduced. It feels slightly sluggish to use, but the upshot is it's really powerful up close. It's not got tremendously high bullet velocity, but it will sort of one shot to the torso of normal sort of enemy grunts. But what you can then do is you can customize it to be much more nimble. You can throw on a really short barrel, which I am terrified of pronouncing. It's I think it's like it's spelt mosquito or close to mosquito, and that's that's as close as I'm going to go with it. Moskit, something like that. It's really, really short essentially, and that'll improve the mobility stats dramatically. So we're much more nimble to use, but you lose a bit more of that muzzle velocity, and it doesn't actually start with that much muzzle velocity, so it does change it somewhat. It keeps the stopping power and the damage, sort of up close if you like. A little bit will drop off of a distance, but yeah, you can take this great big hulk of a rifle and you can trim it down, but you do have to be a bit careful because you can kind of end up with a bit of a useless rifle if you're not careful. Because if you're trying to do long range shooting, that is not the weapon for it. And I think there's a question later about how the number of combinations that you can come up with, which we'll touch on then. But I've made a lot of bad decisions in the loadout menu. Like some things just don't go very well together. So yeah, be mindful of how you customize these things because there are penalties and downsides to sort of everything you do. And in some cases, um, just go. You can make something and go, oh, what have I done? And you want to just reset it back to standard and start again. Trying to sort of be like, what was I trying to get out of this? I don't really know where I was going.
Interesting, though, isn't it? 'Cause that's like it's so dependent on your playstyle. Because there's things like that you could do, Lawrence, and be like, "Oh, this doesn't work with what I want to do," but someone else could put it that way and be like, "Yep, this is perfect for what I
Yeah,
want to
exactly.
manage and what I
Yeah.
want to do." And that's what is so interesting with this system is there's so many different options there, and it will just fit for all different people's playstyles. That what works for one person won't work for another, but there's so much choice there that there'll always be something that will suit you and suit the situation or the playstyle. And having things like our workbenches amongst the levels as well means that you can use something perhaps for the start that you think, right, I'm clearly going to want something long range here. You set something up that way, and then you find a workbench further into the level and realize that you're going to be going somewhere a little bit more close quarters, customize again, take a weapon that's got something that's going to be more suited for how you feel the next part of the mission's going to go. And that sort of choice and customization is great and makes it a lot more versatile.
Do you both feel like you found the option that say you say there's a mission that you want to be more stealthy in, or a scenario where you want to be more stealthy? Do you feel like you've got your go-to now, or are you still playing with it, still trying to perfect it?
I've always playing with. There's so many options there and so many stats that I'm still always playing with it and spend far too much time, I'm sure, looking into the detailed stats. But yeah, I've certainly got my favorite weapons. One of my favorites, to be honest, is just it's just at the start. You can start with a well rod. Our default pistol now is the M1911 with a suppressor on, and I just love using that gun, sneaking around, trying to get headshots. And as I've mentioned, I'm not always the greatest at the game. So if it does go a bit wrong, the fast firing or fast rate of fire for that weapon means that, okay, I've missed the headshot, I've alerted this person, but I can very quickly shoot several rounds into that person and finish it. It may not be the most effective way of keeping hold of your ammo, and means I have to do a lot more searching of bodies to make sure I get the ammo I need consistently throughout. But it's really satisfying to be able to quickly react to a mistake that you do, and it's for me, yeah, that's just my always going to be my default weapon I go with and the one I use to start with when I'm not looking at those long range shots. Great.
Nice. I mean, this is turned into what's your favorite weapon slash loadout, Lawrence? Now the pressure's on.
Do you know what? I had a choice, or a particular loadout, which was like the Springfield with a star gauge barrel, so you get a bit of extra muzzle velocity, a quite large scope, and a leather cheek pad to basically you get a bit more aim stability with it, but it slows the rate of fire. Until like a week ago, well, I was trying to take a really long shot on a moving target. It was really far away, and I just kept missing because the fella in question, let's call him Voldemort, was traveling along in a car, and I couldn't shoot it. I couldn't get the shot. I couldn't lead the shot properly. It was like sort of 700 meters away, and I was getting so frustrated with the slow rate of fire. And I was like, I'm not going to use this. I'm going to go back. I'm going to find a better alternative. And that was a week ago, and I still haven't. So yeah, I kind of filed for divorce with the Springfield, and I'm not sure where to go next.
Still
Oh
a big
man.
fan as well of our starting rifle. It's just our SRAM, mainly just because of the way it rechambers and how interesting it was as a weapon when Lawrence and I were lucky enough to go to the Royal Armouries in Leeds and have a look at a bunch of old weapons, which was absolutely brilliant. Looking through them with Jonathan Ferguson, I think he
That was really
mentioned in that
cool.
article, who knows so much, but also really likes games as well, which is fantastic. And he showed us the SRAM, which is that sniper rifle experimental model.
Yeah,
That's right, isn't it? It's
nice.
an M3. And he showed us that, and it's just great looking, and it just feels very different to everything else, and just the way it rechambers. Do you want to go into detail on it, because I don't want to get anything wrong here, because
Oh yeah, and
anybody
I'm not.
saying the wrong way.
I'm not at all
Chambers.
worried about doing that. Yeah, so like Jonathan was telling us that this SREM was basically developed to try and give snipers a rifle that they could stay in scope whilst rechambering. So they can just move their right hand with the pistol grip to rechamber the weapon. So we thought it was really cool, and it's super rare. And Jonathan really inspired us. So we set it up, and what we've done is we've given it stats such that it does actually rechamber an awful lot quicker than a normal bolt action rifle. And basically, this is just my play style, so I don't know how other people are going to sort of find it, but I don't think you can't really shoot much faster than it can rechamber. Like accurate long range shooting, you can almost do one shot a second with the SRAM, which for like acquiring a target, getting the shot off, rechambering, sort of steadying the aim and everything, it matches up really well. Like Ryan said, you can. It's a lot of fun. I was playing with it today in Iron Sights. It was brilliant. Just as the sort of bolt finished, you can take another shot, and it just about lines up with actually once you've dealt with the recoil, it's ready for another shot. Whereas some guns, you kind of the gun jumps up, you deal with the recoil, and then you can shoot. But there's a bit of a delay there. But yeah, the SRAM's great.
Feels like the best top tips. I should be making notes so I can dominate in multiplayer when the time comes. But that's awesome. I noticed that both of you pronounce the SREM slightly differently, and I was initially embarrassed because I've always called it SREM, and then you said it, Lawrence, which made me feel better. But
Yeah,
is
SREM or SREM, I'm
Rem,
not sure.
SREM,
either or great.
we should all just say the really long version, shouldn't we?
Just learn that.
Experimental Model 1.
So we're getting some chatter in the Sniper Elite 5 questions channel. For anyone who's new listening, that's where the chat is happening. Go see. Alongside the audio. A lot of people are asking about suppressors and how they work in game. T. Wilson asks, how do suppressors work in this game? I've seen that different suppressors affect the noise your guns make by different amounts. But what's the deal with silenced ammo and so forth? And we've got a couple of questions of that nature. I didn't know whether you wanted to talk quickly about suppressors.
No,
Yeah, go
no,
on.
no. I was going to say, do you want to take this?
Go on, you can. You are the expert in suppressors and stuff. You've been
Okay.
having that recently, haven't you, with all our, in similar veins, sound masking and our special ammo types. So yeah, go for it.
So basically, we wanted to turn sort of audible range, if you like, and being silent into a bit more of a game than it was in SE4. In SE4, you could there were ways to sort of conceal your shots, the sound masks, and we wanted to take that a bit further. And in doing so, we've separated suppressors from subsonic ammo. And essentially, I think this came up with Jonathan when we visited him in Leeds. But essentially, you can put a suppressor on your weapon, and that will bring down the audible range by a certain amount. And different suppressors have different stats, so they might have different negatives, but they also might some might be more effective than others, should we say? So that might take your gun audible range from 100 meters, meaning they can hear you if they're within 100 meters when you shoot your gun, down to 50. And then if you use subsonic ammo, that'll reduce it by a further amount. So essentially, you've got more options. You can use subsonic in a weapon without a suppressor, and you'll gain a benefit, or you can go in with a suppressor, or you can do both. And yeah, so we've then tied that into working with sound masks and with sort of environmental cues that can go on similar to SE4 to give you a bit more to play with. So there's a lot of depth there, but hopefully it's pretty intuitive.
We've added some extra stuff as well, haven't we, to help you, because obviously your audible range, it can be difficult to remember the audible range of your 3 weapons, especially when you're going around customizing stuff via workbenches mid-level. So another good reason to be sort of vigilant with your recon side of things when you're playing the game. If you tag enemies, you leave the little tag above their head, but when you're aiming your weapon, whichever weapon you've got equipped, it will let you know which of those tagged enemies will be able to hear your shot, so you can make more carefully judged decisions on when you're going to fire, if you're safe to fire from this place, or if there's only one person that can hear me, make sure you shoot them in the head, so that doesn't matter if they hear the bullet, because they will be dead before they actually hear it properly. So we've put lots of little bits and pieces in there to sort of help you go along, but it works well and it feels nice, and it's nice sort of customizing your weapons again, if that's your style, to push things down so they make less noise. But then on the flip side as well, it can be quite liberating at times when you're like, okay, I'm going to be going into this place that I'm pretty certain it's going to be a fight anyway. I'm not going to stealth through this too well. I'm just going to put all these other things on my gun, make it loud, make it high rate of fire, whatever it is you want, but don't worry about the audible range of it. And that can be quite fun too, just being like, yeah, it doesn't matter, I'm going to be loud and
Yeah.
might bring them towards me, but it's I'm ready for it, and that's good.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I am definitely an advocate of that. You used the phrase "run and gun," Lawrence. I like spray and pray. I know
Yes.
it's exactly the same thing, but that's definitely how I would describe my approach to some of those areas. So we've had loads of questions about customization, which you both touched on quite a bit. One person did ask how many combinations there are with Sniper Elite 5. Is
Yeah.
that something we know? Surely not.
I don't think we know properly, but you were. I
Yeah.
saw on some of our chat channels at work that
lot
you
of
were asking
numbers.
people about, how do I work this number out to this number, and what should I multiply here? So was this you trying to figure it out, ready for today in case this did get asked, Lawrence?
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking at over 5 million unique combinations.
What?
Rifles, we estimate at about 3-4 million. There's more rifles than pistols and SMGs, but yeah, it turns out that things when things square, they square pretty quickly, and the numbers get pretty outrageous. So yeah, when you were saying, have you found your perfect combination? I haven't. Yeah. I don't know whether anyone ever will, but they can have a good go. And if it suits their play style, I suppose, then.
I can almost hear the listeners of this chat thinking "challenge accepted," and they'll
Yeah.
find it. They'll try them all. That is so many. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's wild.
That is a standalone sentence as well. It's wild, things square. It's the
Yeah.
best thing.
Yeah, like very quickly, the maths is something like, we have, like, each weapon has an average of eight attachment slots, and then in each one of those slots there's 5 attachments. So you're looking at sort of 5
Quickly
to the power
adds
of,
up.
yeah, or 8 to the power of 5.
Are you doing live maths?
I
Love it.
I
Pretty
didn't
sure if you
intend
do
to,
live maths
but
now, Lawrence, this is going to go
it's got to be
terribly wrong,
right.
because someone's going to
Yeah.
tell you, no, Lawrence, that is not how this works.
Based on the discussions from today, that there'll be yeah. Is that a combination, or is that a I can't remember the other word for it.
This feels like a good time to ask you another question. So we've had a few questions about workbenches. Ogre, who is one of our wonderful Discord moderators, they've asked about workbenches and how they compare to Zombie Army 4, but we've also had a question that was sent in ahead of time about as weapon mods are primarily unlocked through finding workbenches, what kind of other sources are there to find or unlock weapon mods from? I mean, they're two quite different questions, actually. So maybe should we start with Ogre's question about workbenches in general? And
Yeah, we can go for the workbenches in general, and then I'll let
great,
Lawrence go into the detail of how we unlock other things.
awesome.
But yeah, the workbenches. So workbenches do allow you, if you find them, to customize your loadout. So swap to different weapons that you have available, to customize all your attachments that you have there. And that's, like I've said in a few examples already today, that's great for when you feel like you've either chosen something poorly, or you're pretty sure that the situation is going to change as you're going towards your next objective. But our workbenches, every level will have about 3 workbenches. These can be found in various places. You can have them in resistance caches or axis armories, and each of these locations have to be discovered by you. If you get nearby, we might give you a hint about where it is. You may find intel about where they are, but knowing where they are isn't the end of it. You have to figure out the way in. For an axis armory, for example, that might mean they'll nearly always have a reinforced door on them. So that might mean trying to find the nearby officer that has the key to get through that door, or if you're not bothered about being too quiet, you could find a method to blow your way through that door using a satchel charge. And other times there may also be some sort of traversal method, another sort of slightly secret route into these places. And then once you do get inside, you've not just got your workbench, you've got a bunch of goodies in there as well, a bunch of supplies, special ammo types, things like that. So they're always something that's worthwhile heading towards, and something I always try and find. And I still find myself every now and then forgetting where one is in a level, and it's good fun having a hunt around, trying to find where they are, and then figuring out the way in, and having that good reward at the end. And every time, for the first time you find a new workbench, you'll unlock a pack of attachments that are all themed in different ways. But I'll let you, Lawrence, go into the more detail about how that side of things works and how you package those up.
Yeah, so we tried to sort of match attachments together into bundles that sort of play into a certain style. So I think the best example is we have a OSS suppressor for the M1911, the Colt, and it's such a large suppressor. It's based on a real suppressor. It's so large you can't see the iron sights anymore, so you can't actually look properly down the iron sights. You can try, but you'll be looking at a big cylinder at the end of your gun. So we've matched that with a scope. So it's a rather clever little mount that goes on the pistol grip of the pistol, and it basically lets you support a scope. So we've bundled those together so that you're not entirely compromised by the suppressor hiding your sort of iron sight view. But in most examples, we've gone, how can we match together different attachments that we think will play into one another quite well? So we might put sort of muzzle brakes with foregrips, and bundle that together as a sort of a recoil bundle, or we sort of use names like recoil technology, things like that. So yeah, that would be sort of a how to improve the control of your gun, and you might go off and try and find that workbench on a certain level, because we call these out. So when you're looking through the attachments, if there's a few you like, you might hover over them and see that they're all located in this certain level, and you might go looking for those because they sort of play into the style that you're going for. But yeah, that's the rough gist of it.
Love it.
And then I think one of the sort of second question there was asking about other ways to unlock
Yes.
attachments, if there were any of those. And correct me, Lawrence, quickly if I do say anything wrong. But we unlock some attachments also from sort of completing levels. and earning some of our fun medals, so the masteries for different weapons. So there are
Yes.
various ways, but the majority of them will be coming from finding those workbenches. So make those a priority when you play through the missions. They're definitely worthwhile, and they're good fun as well to figure them out.
And that seems like a really good point to mention as well. We're doing more of these chats with the wonderful devs, and we'll be doing them for the next few weeks. And the final one, which is on the 4th week, and I forget the date off the top of my head, but keep an eye on our social channels where we'll be sharing more. And that one will cover all things achievements, medals, etc. So we'll definitely be going into further detail about more of these aspects at that point. Cool. So let me see out of our questions. There's a couple that we can skip over because you guys have sort of covered those. But Brutal Barracuda, who is a long-time community member and big Sniper Elite fan, has mentioned, I've noticed there is no longer a muzzle velocity stat in the gun customization. Have the damage and muzzle velocity stats in SE4 now been combined to create the power stat? ?
Firstly, thank you for the question, and I recognise the account. I think
In the
Brutal
breakdown
Barracuda has a
videos,
yeah.
right? Yeah, we
I
share
think
those. So,
yeah. So we actually, I think the images you've seen are of the high level stats. But what you can do is you can press like tab on PC to get an advanced stat show or showdown view, if you like. And inside that view, we've taken those high level stats and we're providing more detailed stats. And in that, power breaks down into muzzle velocity, damage, and effective range. So don't fear, muzzle velocity is still there. It's just hidden in the normal view. So you just need to press tab, and you'll get more info. Things
and that's
like
one of the things I realized later on. Is like I was customizing my weapons just looking at the simple view, and then one day I clicked on the advanced view and then remembered how many other stats were changing, and that made all my choices suddenly be like, oh, I need to look through all of these again. And it's there's a lot of stuff in there, but it's great how granular it goes into.
That's good to know. I feel like that's definitely something I would also do, Ryan. So yeah, you're not alone.
it's
And
helpful. The high level view is good though because we put pros and cons in there, so we can kind of tell you sort of in a more qualitative way what we might be changing or what the benefits of this thing are, rather than just giving you a wall of numbers.
Yeah, it works really well, and I flick between the two, to be honest, because it's really good to, especially if you're looking at the attachments or something, just get the high level overview of the pros and cons, and then having a look into the more detailed stuff, and it generally makes it much more accessible to people that can be a bit daunted by all those numbers that you've got in there. But yeah, it works really well.
awesome. And Brutal Barracuda also asks about ammo. So he says you've said there is non-lethal ammo, and I think you mentioned armor-piercing ammo. What other ammo types are there?
So
I
we've
love
got.
the
I'm pulling.
silence while you
pulling.
try and figure out who's going to answer.
It's that, and it's also I'm getting my notepad so I can write these down so I don't say the same one over and over again. So we have soft point, which could be slightly controversial, which is kind of prohibited, to be fair. But it was used every now and again by naughty people, and that increases the damage to like soft targets and infantry quite significantly, as you might expect. We also have the downside to that, by the way, is that it can't penetrate anything because the projectile is soft. So we have soft point ammo. We have armor-piercing rounds, which you can use to sort of shoot through vehicles and deal damage to them. You also use it to shoot through sort of light cover, thin bits of metal, and even a bit of like sort of stone, and use it to help you sort of get around the map. You can disable things like padlocks with it. And then you have non-lethal ammo, which kind of speaks to or rather speaks for itself as to what that does, but it lets you knock out enemies. And then we have subsonic, which is really quiet but not so strong. It lacks power, deals a bit less damage. So when you use subsonic, you kind of want to go for a headshot or go for the lungs or some organ shot. And then we have match ammo, which might be a bit more of a surprise to some people. It's not an obvious choice, but essentially it's our long range ammo. So it's uber refined and increases the muzzle velocity significantly on the weapon, which is a thing. It's kind of competition ammo. In reality, that's kind of where it gets its name for match. But it's a bit more expensive, and people generally only sort of use it for competitions. It also increases like the accuracy of the weapon slightly as well. But that's really effective for super long range shots because you get less bullet drop and a little less wind sort of influencing your bullet as well.
Loads. Love it. How exciting. Brill. I mean, I'll move on to the next question unless there was anything else. I don't want to cut you off, Lawrence, if you were midway through.
No, I'm cognizant that I don't want to go too long ranting away, but
I feel like I said this earlier to you, but you're definitely in the right place. This community, I've been trying to get answers out of myself and the other community managers and community moderators for months. So it feels good to be able to take a step back and let you guys answer some of these questions. That's awesome.
I was
We've had
just going to say before
Yeah.
we move on,
Yeah.
that sort of secondary to Ryan, sort of say, go off and find workbenches around levels. Special ammo can also be found near workbenches, but also just sort of dotted around in strategic locations, which is quite a fun reward. So if you sort of scale a sniper tower, otherwise known as a church, and you might find special ammo, and you can kind of take that and take advantage of it, use it up or hoard it. Yeah. As well as being able to bring it in with you from your loadout, so you can find it in the game as well, as sort of what I was going for there.
The sniper tower, also known as a church. It's great. So we've had a few questions about X-ray Killcam, and I'm jumping all over the place here, but there's a few queries about X-ray Killcams. I just want to say the X-rays are amazing with the blood vessels and all. I thought that was a really funny thing to mention. And we've also had, will online X-ray cameras be back in online co-op campaign? Loved them in Sniper Elite 4. Feels like a good time to talk about X-ray Killcams in Sniper Elite 5 because they're new and improved, are they not?
Yes, they are. Killcams, they're great. They're a core part to our game, and yeah, we've got lots of improvements on the visuals and the gore side, which everybody's going to enjoy, or really not enjoy. There's still the options to turn off some of those gory settings if you really don't want to see X-rays of people's organs exploding and all that sort of thing. But yeah, there's improvements there. Lots of visual improvements as we've got across the whole game. It's looking fantastic. The art teams and various people have done a great job with that side. But there's lots of other extra bits to go with our kill cams this time. Even to the little details. Lawrence just talking about all the different ammo types you've got. We actually have the different bullets, don't we, Lawrence?
Yeah, they're really cool.
To nag the art team enough to get all these different variations of bullets. You can see them going through, and it's just that really nice detail that goes into there. You slowly seeing, even when it's sort of just like an armor-piercing bullet flying through the air. One of the other big changes we've got this time round as well is you can also get bullet cams from your secondary weapons and your pistols, which is great.
The first time, right? That wasn't in
Yeah.
SE4.
That's the first time we've added that, and that's really good because it means there are some people that don't play very long range all that much. They'll stay really stealthy. They'll sneak around. They'll do a few headshots and things. Maybe do some takedowns. And they didn't get to see that many bullet cams in the past. So now we've got bullet cams there. They have some sort of stricter rules on them. We've got quite a complex system under the hood, deciding when we're going to show a bullet cam, how we show a bullet cam, and all the different varieties we've got of the bullet cams as well. But for pistols and secondary weapons, we've basically got the rule is if the person you're killing is the last person to know that you're doing this, then there's a good chance you'll get a really satisfying bullet cam. So if you are stealthing around and you've got a nice suppressed pistol on, you'll get to see quite a few of these as you're relatively up close, popping people in headshots, and nobody else is aware of what's going on. So it's really satisfying. And it's nice to see, and it just means everybody gets to see a little bit more of those satisfying, gory, brutal explosions
And
of people's skulls.
I'm right in thinking that bones will deflect bullets in unpredictable ways and such, right? And that is
They can do, yes, they can deflect bullets. They'll bounce off in different directions, and ricochets in general is a big thing. People trying to take advantage of. I'm terrible at doing that still, but there's some helpers now, isn't there, Lawrence? Like a little bit
Yeah,
help there. If you can explain that a bit better, because I've still not got great with doing it, but it's helping me a lot, slowly getting better.
it's definitely one of the areas in the game. If we recorded the time we'd spent on different features, and then the sort of the weight of the time versus how big the feature is, that would come out sort of at the bottom. But it's amazing. It's so silly but great. Like you can essentially ricochet bullets off surfaces to kill the enemies like you could in SE4, but we've tried to make it a little bit easier to use. So the angles that they ricochet off at are they're slightly easier to use. They're not strictly realistic or not. We've made them a bit more consistent, so that it's easier for you to kind of judge whether you're going to be able to ricochet a bullet. And then if you actually use the binoculars or scope tag an enemy, will give you a little indicator if you're in rifle empty lung. If you're in the scope and you're sort of hovering over, let's say a certain surface, will actually tell you that the bullet's going to ping off that and hit someone that you've tagged. So you can have a lot of fun, I suppose, training yourself using the indicators with a tagged enemy, how it works, and then in the end you can bin off empty lung. You don't need it, and you can just free form sort of go around the level, pinging bullets under cars at enemies' feet or round corners. It's great fun.
oh man, that feels like pro play. I'm not sure I'll be there yet, but maybe I'll aim for that in the future.
One of the great thing actually we've got with our bullet cams as well is that when you've got the nice longer, more cinematic style bullet cams, you can actually slow them down even more than they start with. So
Yeah, that's a really good point.
if you really want to see the gory detail for even longer, then you can slow those bullet cams down by just pressing the button on the controller to see it slower, and you can speed it back up again if you want to. But it's it's good fun sometimes just to, if you know you've taken a really good shot.
Oh
You
yeah,
can
let
just
it
slow
sink
down
in.
Yeah,
I love that.
exactly. Yeah, it's good.
When you accidentally get like because the bullet cam will follow like a penetrating shot or a ricocheting shot, and you can take a shot, watch it go through someone, and then it proceeds to go on through the level, and you're kind of like, where's it going? Why is it doing this? And it turns out you've hit someone else somewhere else. So you might want to slow it down.
Yeah, good.
Just take it in quick. Well, in my case, quickly try and find the button that records the screen so you can brag about it. And
Yeah.
act like you took that shot intentionally, of course.
Great. So moving on, Nove has asked, and Nove is another long-time Rebellion Discord server community member. They've asked, speaking of which, and weapon related, will the higher tier difficulties, A and A plus, still disable weapon attachments?
Interesting. So they don't disable weapon attachments, but what you might find is that by going to authentic, you'll, or in my experience anyway, you'll probably want to actually rethink your attachments, because without having the assistance of empty lung to tell you where the bullet's gonna go, you might want to sort of prioritize muzzle velocity or go a lot closer, because the impact that having like a heavy gun, let's say you've just put everything on the gun, all the suppressors, the biggest scope, biggest magazine, that sort of thing, you have really unstable aim, and you might have you might be lacking in muzzle velocity, and that makes shooting at sort of medium long range even harder than it already is in authentic. So the sort of the penalties, or the cost of some of these attachments, the impact of them can have a slightly different meaning in authentic. So yeah, it doesn't disable them, but there is a different cost to them, which plays nicely into, you want authentic to be a bit different. And yeah, the loadouts that you make for hard or medium aren't necessarily the best in authentic anymore.
Great. Will there be Polish weapons such as? I really hope you've got this question in front of you, because I don't even want to attempt to pronounce that. That appeared in.
I can't tell which question it is. I'm afraid you're gonna.
Oh no! Don't make me do it. I'm not even going to mention it. Will there be Polish weapons similar to the ones that appeared in Sniper Elite 3 and Zombie Army Trilogy?
So we haven't got any Polish weapons. We kind of we didn't want to have hundreds of weapons, but we have tried to grab sort of as many unique and diverse weapons as possible. So we've got Japanese weapons, French weapons, British weapons, obviously German weapons, American weapons. But sadly, yeah, the Polish weapon didn't make the cut. I won't pronounce it either because I'm scared. Ryan, if you want to take a stab, you're welcome.
I'll leave it as well. But yeah,
No.
we spent a lot of time, though, didn't we, Lawrence, at the beginning of this project, going through all the different weapons. There were so many weapons made, so many different types of weapons made across World War II, and lots of them were based off each other, but having really cool variants or different attachment things you can do. But we've still got a nice, good variety of weapons, but we also wanted to make sure we had the time to really focus on the attachment side of things. And we had the time to put a huge variety in there, which, from the numbers Lawrence quoted earlier, has paid off. We've managed to get a lot of numbers there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that means that we wanted to still get that variety, but stick to, in a lot of situations, sort of the game is set in France. So there's quite a lot of French weapons in there. So yeah, we wanted to make sure we've got that good mix.
Right, actually,
So go
I was I'm a bit biased because I've got Polish heritage, and I was interested if we could get away with it. The closest thing we've got to it was sort of some of the like the Sten gun, which we have, actually does have sort of history in Warsaw, for instance, as being like one of the weapons that was quite sort of commonly airdropped in and used by the resistance. Yeah, but that's kind
I
of
didn't know that.
that's close. Yeah,
always
it was
good to
so
let us know
cheap
as
to
well.
produce. I think it was like $4 or $5 it cost to make back then.
What?
Yeah, to make a gun, it's mad. So
That's
they sort of
crazy.
dropped them in.
Yeah, they made them cheap, and there's no wood or anything either, just all bits of metal that could easily be just like made and all put together very quickly.
Yeah, sheet metal. But yeah, we did that. We've done an awful lot of research this project, and that came up as sort of one of the.
And it's always good to let us know as well. Like in the Discord chats, we do look at those all the time, and especially at the start of the project, we'll look at things from the chats from previous projects and things, and look for as much community feedback as we can get. So seeing the sort of weapons that people like is always useful for us in helping us make the decisions of what we want to do.
Yeah, and this is a good time to mention as well. We've got a few different Discord channels. One of them is literally called Sniper Elite Suggestions and Wish List. There's another that is just a chat. We're always in there, myself and the wider community team, who I can see in some of the audience. We've got Frank and Tommy, Devil Never Cry, and Flop. we're always here. We're always listening. Come and find us. We love having a chat with you guys, and we're always eager to hear stuff. And then we bug the dev team, and they get fed up with us because we are going, the community have said this. I'm going to ask this question because it is hilarious. Charlie asks, I like playing by only using pistol. How much of a wally am I? Or is it possible to play the whole game this way?
I reckon you could do it.
Yeah, you
It'd be
can do it.
difficult. It would be
It's
difficult,
really
but you
hard, but
definitely could do it. And to be fair, I try to play quite a bit with the pistol. I like to do that every now and then, go through that playthrough, try and keep things stealthy, and then stubbornly try to take long shots with the pistol every now and then, which normally rinses through my ammo, but it's still extra satisfying when you do land that shot. And like Lawrence said earlier, there's also some pistols may be able to have a scope attachment put onto them if you manage to unlock those via the workbenches. So yeah, there's definitely
Right.
possible to do
You
that.
heard it here first. It's possible. Charlie, let us know how it goes on launch day.
yeah, get a stream up so we can watch you.
One
The
thing which we may not have said actually when we talk about special ammo isn't just for rifles. They can be used in the other weapon types as well. So that's another way to improve things for your pistol only playthrough.
Oh,
I think
shouldn't give him top tips. I want to see. This is going to be hilarious.
yeah. One thing that like sort of surprised me, as we sort of we put a lot of effort into getting the iron sights as sort of close to as sort of real as we practically can, and then we've also done the same with the windage and the bullet drop and the muzzle velocities on the various weapons, which then means that you're actually trying to take like you can actually try and take long shots with pistols with a fairly representative amount of like wind and drop and iron sights on targets that are sort of a couple of 100 meters away with a pistol, which is incredibly difficult to do. You feel great when you do it, but it's yeah, if you want hard mode, I mean you can try sniping with a pistol at super long range and iron sights. It just might take quite a few bullets if you don't hit them in the
If anyone
face.
does that, if people do that who are listening now, make sure you record it, tag us, please. I would love that. That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah.
One thing to go with, sorry, keep you in top tips, Karis, is probably don't want.
No, do it.
But,
Love it.
But one other thing that we haven't really talked about is enemy weapons and sort of found weapons in the levels. So you can pick those up and use them, but they will not replace what you currently have. So you can pick up an enemy's rifle, and with the right skill, you could take out the ammo from that rifle and add it to your inventory, or you can use that rifle, take a few shots, and there are some interesting setups for weapons placed around different locations. In places like the sniper towers, also known as churches, as Lawrence mentioned earlier. They you go up there, you might find a rifle with a bunch of cool attachments on it, so you can pick that up, take some interesting, fun shots, because it might be set up, luckily, very well for that location you found it. But also there'll be all sorts of other weapons, so you won't be limited to just your pistol that you take in with you. You could pick up pistols from various different enemies, find interesting pistols that have been left around in armories and other places, and make use of those as well. So you'll still be able to do a lot of different things on your pistol only run, I think.
That is a question that I never thought we'd get that a detailed answer for, and I'm here for it. That's brilliant. So final couple of questions before we wrap things up. Someone sent in a question on Twitter. Sniper Elite fan asks, I saw an anti-tank weapon in the latest trailer. Will that be used for its intended purpose, or can we target enemy soldiers with it as well?
You can target whatever
oh,
you want.
look at that perfect timing. So it turns out the delay before both of us speak is about half a second, 800 milliseconds.
Go on, Lawrence, I'll let you go.
Yeah, you can shoot everything with it. You can shoot stone eagles, vehicles, enemies, players. In A&B, it's like a special reward for doing special things that they can discuss at a later date. But yeah, it's really effective at shooting infantry. If you really want to kill someone,
It's
a-
probably overkill, isn't it?
yeah,
Going that way,
definitely
but yeah, you
overkill.
can definitely do it if that's what you want to do. And to be fair, I think we probably all have done that as well, and it is fun seeing the massive impact that has on an enemy soldier wherever you hit
The
them.
massive
That's gonna be
impact
the
is
end.
such a polite
Yeah.
way of saying
Total
exploding.
destruction.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's good.
Brilliant.
yeah, you
We've
can.
got loads of other
Yeah,
weapons as well, don't we? Heavy, because that's one of our heavy weapons. So you'll not be able to take in the anti-tank rifle, which is the PZB, the Panzerfaust. Is that right, Lawrence?
yeah,
Am I
that's
saying
it.
that
And
right?
yeah, 39.
Yeah. But you'll be able to find them in the world, and like I was saying, with the found weapons, you can pick it up, run around with it, use it for a bit. But you won't have to sort of swap it for your rifle you want to be using for most of your moment-to-moment long-range gameplay. We've got some other weapons. When you were talking about favorite weapons earlier, actually, Karis, one of my favorites is the MG42. Finding one of those is, as soon as I find one of them, that's it. Stealth is out the window because I know I can just run through and obliterate a whole group of enemies. It's really satisfying to use, especially when you go into iron sights as well. It's really good. So fast firing, but so lethal as well. It's great fun. And then we have the Panzerfaust as well, which is a good fun weapon. But you have to be very careful with your shots on that. One, you don't want to hurt yourself, but also they're one shot Panzerfaust, so you need to make it count when you do fire them.
Yeah.
Great. And I have a couple more questions. We're getting a few questions, so I'm trying to pick out some ones that we might be able to answer quickly. Someone's asked about including some sort of training to learn more, and I'm right in thinking that there is a whole tutorial section in the main menu, right, which is fairly easy to navigate to and breaks down some of the basic features and stuff that you can use in Sniper Elite 5.
Yeah, we have tutorials in the game. When you play the game, we have sort of onboarding section that will help some people, but if you're pretty confident with it, you can get through that very quickly. And with these, but yeah, there's a whole tutorial section that you can look at through the menus, read about the different parts of the game, look at more detail about sort of the weapon customization or the enemy types and all the other various features and parts of the game that we have. So there's plenty of information there for people to look at, because we know it can be daunting for some, and sometimes you might end up playing one particular play style that doesn't use certain aspects of the game, and then you want to go back and refresh yourself and remind yourself, oh, like, yeah, actually I can non-lethally kill someone. Oh yeah, of course I can do that after I've just been murdering hundreds and hundreds of people, and having a look at the different options there.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. We're getting a few people saying, yes, I'll need that. And yeah, it sounds like there'll be a few people that will be checking out that, and as well as sponging all the top tips that you guys have been sharing tonight. So a couple of
Just
questions.
Before
Oh yeah,
just
sorry,
before we
Lawrence.
move on, one thing we actually haven't mentioned that hopefully means you won't need quite so many tips is that the wind and the bullet drop in SE5 is called out in the scope, but also when you go into empty lung, we're actually sort of using that. We're basically drawing from those wind indicators to give you the bullet location, to try and teach you how to not use empty lung, if that makes sense. So rather than the windage sort of being arbitrary, it's actually based on what you're looking at. So if you look at something super far away, the indicator will display that actually, the wind is really strong. It's all the way over here. And then if you were to enter empty lung, and you weren't on authentic, you would get these dials, if you like, these lines that draw towards the kill diamond that shows you exactly where to shoot. So basically we've tried to make that scope, or that experience, of learning how to do it freeform a little easier and a bit more tied to, I suppose, the normal game modes. There's not such a difference between authentic and, or sort of using empty lung and not using empty lung.
Oh, nice.
And it is really, it does mean now, yeah, you can make those shots without going into empty lung. And I'll admit I use empty lung a lot in this game. It would take me a long time to get through level without it, But when you don't use empty lung and you manage to line up those shots, you look at the wind indicator, the bullet drop indicator, and you're like, right, that's going to cross about here at that range. And then you fire it and you get that kill. It's so satisfying knowing that you did it by yourself. It's really good.
That's the sort of moments you'll be slowing down that kill cam and taking it all in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So we're on to the final question. I can see loads of questions. There's a few questions in this Sniper Elite 5 questions channel that we'll definitely answer and readdress in some of the upcoming Discord events. So I'm going to ask this question, which I really like, and it's how accurate, true to life are some of the weapons, from aesthetic to action, recoil, etc. And what was the process of getting familiar with how the guns performed in real life when bringing them to game?
So we've done our best to model these as close to sort of reality as we can, and as is practical, I suppose. Like an example of that RSC, you can it's pretty readily available that thing was pretty heavy, pretty cumbersome, and then things like the muzzle velocity, the magazine size, things like that. We've respected those, which was quite a challenge with the attachments that we've put in the customization options, because actually back in World War II, there aren't actually that many, if any, modular attachments like you have today with Picatinny rails and the like. So we had to do a lot more research to find out, what had people done to these certain weapons, and what bits of kit could you, within reason, with a workbench, an engineer, a welder, and the like, what would be possible. That's kind of how we framed it. And then, yeah, I mean, like going up to the Royal Armouries in Leeds, actually holding these guns and loading them and messing about with them was really informative. And also talking to people like Jonathan and Paul Biddis, who's like a military advisor expert, getting their opinions and information and experiences on them. And then I suppose I've got very limited experience shooting guns, but there's no substitute to the almighty flash and bang and drama that goes off when you do shoot them. And what we try to do is take that and sort of morph that into the Sniper Elite environment or world as best makes sense. I think one little example as to like the detail, it's like when it comes to recoil, yes, we want them to bounce around, jump when you shoot them, and the more powerful the weapon is, the more recoil you get, and that's very, very granular. So if you, for instance, there's a little spoiler, there's an attachment for Ryan's favorite gun, the M1911 Colt, where you can actually convert it to shoot 22 long rifle bullets, which is a very rare modification that did exist, where you swap out a bunch of parts and you could actually be shooting 22 long rifle, but it's very weak, much weaker than it is in its original caliber. But with that, you get much less recoil. You get a little bit of accuracy with it as well, because the bullet flies so fast. A little bit better at range, but you need to get the headshot because it's a tiny bullet. But you'll feel that all through the different modes, whether you're in iron sight or aim over shoulder. That weapon will become a lot more subtle in your hands and a lot less powerful. So yeah, that's sort of an example of how we've gone into
And
detail.
there's loads. I know that the audio for the guns, a lot of that was captured in real life. Like people actually went out and recorded at a firing range some of these really old weapons that they had to source. I remember hearing that one of them, it was like the only one of its kind in the UK or something, and there's some incredible stories like that in terms of historical accuracy. And I mean, you guys have really put everything in it to get it to what it is.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Like watching Joe from our audio team, I remember this isn't weapons related, but one clip of him hanging off the back of an old army Jeep recording the sound of it, and it's like he's precariously perched with a microphone, like literally hanging on to this truck. It's just like, yeah.
The links people go to, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
great to get the right stuff.
I was just
And
about to say that.
And Lawrence, you've done massive amounts of research for this, haven't you? And then you've been a combination of a blessing to art and the bane of their lives, I imagine, with the, oh, I found this thing. There's only one picture of it, but
Yeah.
it's real, see? So
Oh.
can we make this as weapon? And then they've got to make something with very limited resource. But yeah, the stuff that working together you've managed to get has been fantastic. Really good.
Yeah, it's been really good fun and really interesting.
Well, this feels like a really natural and organic place to wrap things up. First of all, I guess a huge thank you, Lawrence and Ryan, for taking time out in your evening after what was probably a very long day polishing Sniper Elite 5 and all that stuff, to chat to the community and chat to me. It's been awesome. I know I've learned loads as well, which is great. I'm going to take you on in multiplayer when the time comes.
It's been great. It's been really good fun, and it's really nice to finally be able to sort of talk about a game so openly and speak to the fans, which is really good.
Awesome. Well, we're here again. We're back, and Ryan, I believe you're here next
It
week
might be,
as
yeah. I
well.
think I'm back next week. Yep. Well, I'll
Yeah.
speak to you all
So
then.
yeah, exactly. So same time, same place. Next Wednesday. I don't want to tell you the wrong date. The 13th at 6 p.m. We'll be here again, and we're chatting all things ways to play. So that's covering multiplayer, crossplay, your standard campaign, all of that. We'll be covering the many ways in which you can pick up Sniper Elite 5 from launch. And we'll be having a few other special guests, and of course Ryan will be joining us again, which is awesome. So thank you so much. We hope we'll chat to you then. A massive shout out to our moderators in the Discord, Ogre, Rydal and Drintium, who literally are always here and are always supporting us for this sort of thing, which is amazing. And we'll hopefully see you soon. Stay tuned, everyone.
Okay, take care all.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alrighty then, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. It really does help the channel to grow. This is a dedicated Sniper Elite channel, so hit the subscribe button to be kept up to date on all things Sniper Elite. And I will see you guys in the next video!
Brutal Barracuda, a Sniper Elite channel.